So Mikey, you're head of marketing technology here at 3Pipe, and there's been so much news in the last few weeks about Google Topics API. What on earth is Google Topics API?
Yeah, so I mean, this all really comes back to the removal of third-party cookies, which everybody's heard so much about over the last couple of years. So Google, when they're doing this, they didn't want to leave the industry high and dry, and so put in place measures to try and recreate different scenarios. So one of them is the advertising targeting. So with third-party cookies disappearing, one of the big challenges is re-engaging users who come to your website. So you won't be able to do that in the same traditional way. So Google, in their latest sort of attempt to resolve this issue, have released the Topics API, which is an attempt to recreate that functionality so that you can re-engage people who come to your website.
And has this replaced something that was launched last year called Flock?
Yeah, so it does, and it's also completely different. So Flock, which was trying to really closely recreate the idea of third-party cookies and tracking the people who came to your website so that you could re-engage them afterwards, but in a privacy-safe way. However, how privacy safe it was always in question, because Google's still collecting all this private information and then just serving it up to advertisers in different slices, which a lot of people in the industry didn't feel very comfortable with, and was potentially even more of a black box than what it was trying to replace. So they simplified the whole idea and came up with Topics, which is every user of the Chrome browser will have a few topics that are labeled in their browser about them, that says they're interested in sport, they're interested in retail, gaming, so on and so forth. There's a couple thousand. These are predefined topics that you could be interested in and change every week or so. But it's completely different to Flock, because the topics are for you as an individual across all sites, and not about you as an individual who's visited my site. So that whole re-engagement aspect has completely disappeared. With it, the aspect of privacy and worrying about being tracked across the internet has also disappeared. So all those privacy concerns that were there are hugely alleviated from Flock to Topics. But it does a completely different thing, because now we're not talking about re-engagement, we're just talking about additional signals that user has. And some of the more privacy-focused individuals are still uncomfortable with Google collecting information just to tell advertisers, I'm interested in gaming. So it doesn't replace Flock. It might be in the headlines that it's replacing Flock, but it doesn't fit the same purpose. And it doesn't also really allow for that privacy safety that people are concerned about. So it's kind of a halfway house, which isn't really fitting anywhere right now.
Okay. And is there a sort of hard stop when this transition starts? Because everyone's talking about 2023 being the year that brands need to get their heads around this. When do we start seeing this coming through?
Well, the Topics API has been released now to developers to start looking at, but the actual change is happening when Chrome starts blocking third-party cookies. Now, this is currently scheduled for late 2023, but is no means set in stone. If the procedures aren't there to replace it, it's in all likelihood going to be pushed back. But if the industry can come up with solutions and everybody's comfortable, then it will go ahead. But there's a lot of Google talking to regulators about what's the right time to do this, because they obviously don't want to be anti-competitive.
Okay. And what do brands need to do right now to prepare for this change?
Well, on the targeting front, it's really simple. You need to be testing strategies that are going to work after cookies. So you can't just rely on algorithms to tell you that it's going to be here and here and here, because they might not all work in the same way. So you should be looking at using data that will be there. So advanced contextual, which is a combination of the contextual environment that a user finds themselves in, plus the time of day and other features. to target them more precisely, using their geographic location more precisely. Like really these sort of just using the data that will be there and that people are comfortable with in better ways to still achieve the same goals.
And we're currently helping clients do this right now in terms of auditing how they're currently set up and the changes they need to make over the next sort of 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all good and well saying you should use the data in more creative ways, but if you haven't got the data in the first place, that's a real challenge. So we're helping customers across their entire journey with that. So it can be from you've got nothing and need us to come in and really help, like from initially collecting the data and the data governance, can be refining what people are doing, tying that back to individual users. Now is the time to be like thinking about next year, so that when you get there, you have all the weapons in your arsenal to really succeed.
Great. So there is a sense of urgency for brands to get going on this as soon as possible.
Yeah,
they should just get in touch with us.
There is 100%, and we can of course help across that entire sphere.
Great. Thanks very much.
No problem.